There we go. There we go. Ladies, gentlemen, and genetic anomalies, what is happening? Hope you guys are having a great day, and if not, hope that today's stream makes your day at least a little bit better. I am your host coming Not Newbie, coming to you live from the East Coast of the United States of America, and we have a lot of things to talk about today. Got a lot of headlines that we're going to be talking about. We'll be talking about a mixture of internet drama as well as some like celebrity news. We'll be talking about some like real world news stuff that's happening in the world right now. There's actually a breaking news foiled terrorism attack story, I believe. I literally just pulled this up as I was doing show preps. I'll be reacting to that as well. Also, I was in PWS. Which is a little thing that Mr. Pizza is running. It's like a CPU versus CPU WWE wrestling tournament. He created a whole lot of custom characters for it, and I am one of the characters. I think that calling myself a character is actually quite fair. Yeah, so I was blessed with being having the opportunity to be inside of the tournament. So I'm going to react to my appearance at the tournament. So looking forward to checking that out. Also, by the way, I figured I would take this opportunity now that I'm live to actually talk about something. And this was kind of interesting. Here, wait, let me pull this up. My computer's acting so weird today, man. I tried to stream, I tried to start stream, and it said there was an NVENC error. The NVENC error was like the parameter was not found or something. And actually now everything is going haywire. This is frozen. This is frozen. I think it's just the Brave browser. No, the window snapping isn't working either. This is so weird. What is going on? If I go to Task Manager, let's see what ends up being found here. Maybe I need to completely restart Brave. I think this seems like a Brave issue. Oh no. Brave is back up and running, it looks like. Okay, there we go. Good. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So for those of you who are live, the Bread Boys who are watching me live, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I don't think that this is going to end up being on the 9db Highlights channel, the Clips channel. So I did want to talk about this because I thought it was interesting. If we go to the 9db Highlights channel, like the views have actually been kind of popping off on like the most recent videos. If you kind of look, we've got what actually kind of started like a few weeks ago. I reacted to Jordan Is My Lawyer being able to ask a question at the White House. That was cool. They got a few hundred views. And by the way, mind you, most of the time I got like double digits, so it's kind of interesting. But then I reacted to Asmongold reacting to CNN, 3.2k views, which honestly actually might be my most popular video to date. Yeah. No, my second most popular video to date. Behind me reacting to the moment that Donald Trump won the presidential election with Craig of Craig Cam fame, as well as Colin Slayer. That was a good time. I need to have those people on my stream more often. I need to have them back on my stream sometime. But yeah, so that had 3.2k views. Then we have my reaction to Donald Trump losing a effort to fund sanctuary states. That got 142 views or whatever. Then there's this video of me reacting to a fan animation. Didn't get that many views. But then I got a few hundred views in the ESPN video. Me talking about the ESPN streaming service. Kind of dipped again. Reacted to Angry Canadian. But then we've got reacted to Yay Sneeko. That got 1k. Me reacting to Hassan Piker and Tectone's drama. Got a few hundred. Me reacting to Asmongold's fans fighting my videos, a few hundred, and then this one 1.3k. This is me basically talking about why I don't think that Asmongold's room being messy means that you can't listen to his opinions. And this was kind of an interesting experience Now, for those of you who have followed me and you've been watching, like, especially the Non-Newbie Highlights channel for a while, you guys know I do not chase trends at all. Like, there could be like a trending story, but I just don't talk about it because I'm not particularly interested in it. But this is one instance where I very much was like, oh, this is an interesting story. I kind of want to talk about this on stream. You know, the streamer world connecting to politics. I love talking about that stuff. Like I did that with the whole Nick Merck situation. So I jumped at the opportunity to do it here with Asmongold. But apparently Asmongold is so popular that just me making videos about him drew folks to my channel, which I wasn't expecting, at least in such droves. I think the worst part about this whole situation, now the views are nice. I think the views are cool, but I don't do streaming and making videos and stuff like for the views. If I did, I would have covered these people like a long time ago. But like I did notice on one or two of the videos that people were kind of like abrasive and like leaving negative comments, but not even like saying anything about the video. And I was like, well, this is useless feedback. I would rather have no comments than have people like leave like what's basically brain rot like in the comment section. So I don't know. I am going to keep on talking about I'm going to keep talking about the content creators I find interesting. I think I've got like an Asmongold React video keyed up here, but I guess if there's a day where there are like multiple stories about one big streamer, I might not do multiple videos about the same streamer in the same stream, because like I did like 3 segments about Asmongold in my last stream, and that just led to my channel basically becoming an Asmongold channel. Which one thing too is like I don't want to get pigeonholed into just talking about internet drama. So I think the next few videos is going to be a mixture. Like yes, I'll be talking about Hassan Piker, I'll be talking about Asmongold, but overall I think it's just going to be me talking about whatever I find interesting, just like it's always been. But if you somehow found the stream channel from the highlights channel, which I don't think most people do, you know, brace yourself for me talking about the news again. Maybe you'll find that boring. I don't know, but yeah, it's why I like talking about it. And honestly, I get like 1 or 2 subs every time this happens, every time I get a big jump in viewership. So maybe this will convert some of those people who came for the Hassan takes, my anti-Hassan takes, to stay for my political commentary. So we'll see what happens. But just figured I would mention that, right? If you came here looking for the streamer politics hot takes, that's not all that I'm going to be doing here. So yeah, there is that. Oh, also, you know, this is something I really regret not talking about this. I really regret not talking about this in my Discord server. This is the type of thing, honestly, I really should be putting in my Discord server. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my Discord server is kind of dead right now. I need to start like just flooding the zone with like posts and messages about various things. But oh, also hold on, I need to check my audio real quick. How does this sound? So maybe this will convert some of those people who came for the Hassan thing in my Discord server. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my Discord server is kind of dead right now. Okay, the audio is fine. I just wanted to check something because I had changed some audio settings. But anyways, so but yeah, I need to start posting stuff like this in the Discord server. Actually, if you join the Discord server, I am gonna start posting stuff like this more often. But bro, I got something you're never gonna guess what this thing is that I got. Hold on, wait a second. It's very rare. You guys know me. Very rare that I will go on stream and talk about the things that I've bought, things that I've collected. Sometimes I will. I've done this before with my Joshua. I think it was Joshua Viday's. What are they called? Joshua Viday's Converse shoes that were like canvas or whatever. Those are really cool, and I was excited to get those. You know, they were kind of rare. So I was like, okay, this is great. I really want to show this off on stream. I got something else. I don't know how rare this is. I know this was released 10 years ago. It is a Target exclusive. You guys are going to have to guess what this is. Guess what this is. Oh, let me see. Where is it? All right, folks. Here it is. Actually, hold on. Wait a second. I should do the little thing where... Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna pull this off. I'm not gonna I already unboxed this, so this is not an unboxing video, by the way. Let me just rip this off real quick. Okay. All right. So you will not guess what this is. So I'm just gonna tell you. I went and got a gun from eBay. Now, it might be like, that new, you got a gun? Why'd you get a gun? You know that you've got kids. First of all, no, I don't have any kids. Those are my siblings. Please stop saying that. But second of all, don't worry. This is not anything lethal. These are Nerf guns. Now, this is a, what's it called? This is the Nerf, I want to say, it's on the side here. The Nerf Recon CS6. What makes this unique, though, is that it's clear. So they were making like a clear line of their standard Nerf guns at the time. And this ended up being like a Target exclusive. So, you know, I think guns are kind of cool, but like it doesn't make sense to like get a gun when I feel like I'm probably not going to need to use it anytime soon. And also I live with children, so like dealing with storing it safely is going to be like a hassle and things. But, you know, in the meantime, you know, it's fun to fiddle around and play with like toy guns. And also I play Nerf guns with my siblings if they're in a good mood. So I decided to get this thing. And this doesn't just have this, it's got this over here, which is, I think, basically a, I don't know what you would call it, like a fake suppressor. So it's kind of modular, you could throw this on here. But it also comes with a shoulder stock. Hold on, how does the shoulder stock go? I haven't had this for very long. There we go. Okay, here we go. We've got the shoulder stock. So this is kind of cool. It didn't come with the, it's not a clip, it's a mag. It's not a clip, it's a mag. It did not come with the mag. I've got a mag in another gun that when I actually start playing with this, I'm going to use until I can buy like a 13 dart or a 15 dart mag or something. But I just figured I would mention this on stream because it's kind of cool, very fun to play with. This is like the longest weapon that I have. I have like a modulus weapon that's basically just like a it's like the length of an SMG. It's not particularly long, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. You know, it definitely works. And for me being mobile and running around in the house, trying to shoot at people, you know, it definitely fits my needs when I play. So, kind of figured I would do like a little short video. I was very excited to get that in the mail. If you guys in the comments have your own Nerf guns, or in my Discord server have your own Nerf guns, I'd like to see what you guys have, what you guys think of the gun that I got. Because you know, I only have like 2 Nerf guns, so yeah. But it felt like something that I would enjoy. Took it out. I assembled all the pieces. It really works for me. So I just figured I would mention that on stream because I was a little bit excited about that. I like talking about things I'm interested in and things I'm doing on stream. So yeah, there's that. All right. What else? I don't think I'm going to be reacting to comments on my YouTube videos today. I probably would do that in a different stream, in large part because in the video where people are leaving lots of comments on, people are still finding that video. So it's not like that comment section is like complete, if you get my drift. So I'm going to wait for the views on that video to kind of like start fading away before I begin to talk about that. I'm going to dive head first into some of these topics because I have a lot of topics here I want to get to. And I kind of actually plan on, even if I go a little bit over, hitting almost everything that I've you know, lined up for myself in the show prep. So we're just going to go and dive head first into this right here. We have a crazy story. We have a crazy story from the Associated Press. This was wild and extremely shocking when I first saw this news. It says here, court papers say suspect in embassy killings declared, I did it for Palestine, I did it for Gaza. Now, if you're not familiar with this story, a terrorist, I think a pro-Palestinian terrorist, went and assassinated 2 employees who worked at the Israeli embassy. They were just standing outside. I don't know that they did anything necessarily, but this terrorist went and killed them and then said free Palestine and like Intifada now or something like that. I think it's in the article here. Yeah, here we go. We can read more about it here. The man accused of fatally shooting 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy in Washington outside a Jewish museum told police after his arrest, quote, "I did it for Palestine. I did it for Gaza." I mean, which, first of all, bravo, because, you know, Gaza's free now, right? Palestine's free. You did it, man. Like, ridiculous. For those of you, you know, lacking a sense of humor, I am not being serious there. What did he think this was going to do? Did he really think that this was going to free Gaza or free Palestine? I will say, maybe this guy thought that this would inspire people to go out and do more acts of terrorism and kill more Jews, which would pressure Israel to back off somehow. I feel like, you know, these types of actions only make Israel more aggressive rather than less aggressive. But hey, I mean, I'm not going to accuse terrorists of being the most rational people alive. So, you know, so excuse me if I'm not spending a whole lot of time trying to rationalize this guy's point of view. But like, this was a very, very, first of all, tragic thing to do, right? 2 people lost their lives, but also a very dumb thing to do strategically. This is not anything that's going to further the Palestinian cause in any sort of way. But yeah, it says here, Elias Rodriguez, 31, shouted free Palestine as he was led away after his arrest, according to charging documents that provided chilling new details of the Wednesday night shootings in the nation's capital that killed an American woman and an Israeli man who had just left an event at the museum. Okay, so it's 1 American and 1 Israeli person. They were set to become engaged. That's sad. The stunning attack prompted Israeli missions to beef up their security and lower their flags to half-staff. It came as Israel pursues another major offensive in the Gaza Strip in the war with Hamas that has heightened tensions across the Middle East and internationally, and that law enforcement officials have repeatedly warned could inspire violence in the U.S. I think it's interesting that they include this in the article, right? Talking about what's going on with Israel and Hamas. I think it's sort of fair. It's current events, but don't make no mistake. This does not legitimize the act of terror that we have just witnessed. This does not legitimize it in any way. Just because, you know, Israel is attacking Hamas, right, and making Hamas lose the war that they started, right, through, you know, we can question the means by which they're doing it, but at the end of the day, this is a war and Israel's winning, and people are mad that Israel's winning, but they are winning. This is how wars go. Usually there's a winning side and a losing side, and Hamas ends up being the losers here. So let's see here. Hold on, what was I saying? But, you know, it's not, the employees there have nothing to do with what's going on in the other side of the world. So this is just terror. I hate terrorism. Terrorism is awful. They're attacking employees who are low level, by the way, low level employees, for the actions that they have nothing to do with. This is just despicable, and this is horrific. Says here, Rodriguez faces charges of murder of foreign officials and other crimes that did not enter a plea during a perfunctory court appearance. Additional charges are likely, prosecutors said, as authorities continue to investigate the killings as both a hate crime against the Jewish community and terrorism. Now, that's an interesting point. I don't know how racist this Rodriguez person is. There certainly is some anti-Semitism within the pro-Palestinian movement, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone inside that movement is anti-Semitic. Now, if you are, going to go so far as to, I don't know, like murder a Jew outside the Israeli embassy, that may signal some anti-Semitism, it just might. So there is a chance that this guy's actually anti-Semitic, but I don't know specifically. The Angry Canadian is here in the chat. He says, hey, Angry Canadian, nice to see you here. Says, hey, Nanubi, I found some liberal propaganda. Oh, wow. However, did you find it? It's so rare. It says, and I have some dirt on the Canadian job market when I join a call, if you're available. Unfortunately, no. Because I've only got like an hour to stream and there are a bunch of stories I'm trying to get to. So I'm not going to be able to hop on a stream with you today. maybe in like a week or two, I have the time to hop onto a stream. I want to have folks on the streams for sure. I think it makes for better content, but I feel like that is something probably more suited for when I have like 2-3 hours to stream, because then we can sort of have a full-fledged conversation, get into the nitty-gritty topics in ways that we can't if if I only have like 10, 15, 20 minutes to talk to you, unfortunately. But yes, we should schedule something maybe next month, because yeah, I think that it would be great to have you on, especially in the wake of Pierre Poilievre losing the election in Canada. So, but yeah, to continue here. Violence against anyone based on their religion is an act of cowardice. It is not an act of a hero, said Janine Pirro. Religion? What's the religion called? Israel? I don't know exactly what Janine is referring to here. Anti-Semitism will not be tolerated, especially in the nation's capital. Again, I do want to clarify, and I'm pro-Israel to an extent, but not sure. We don't have proof that this is anti-Semitism. There's a chance for sure, but no proof yet. Says here, the two people were identified as Yuran Lichinsky. You know, I would rather go through like what's been going on with the suspect. I'd rather go through the suspect, because I think that we do need to talk about, you know, why it is that people are going out and killing folks who are working for Israel. Because let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. This is not going to be the first time that this happens. Best version of me is in the chat. Shout out to best version of me. Howdy. Let's be honest. This is not going to be the first time that somebody goes and murders an employee of Israel, a federal employee of their government. I feel like this is most likely going to happen again. I'm glad that they're beefing up security. But yeah, no, I think that maybe they'll put this terrorist under the ground, but still, the problem with an ideology like, you know, radical pro-Palestinian support is that you're going to consider yourself a martyr the stronger that you're punished. And if the state goes lenient on you, then it's going to go out and do more terrorism and kill more people. So it's sort of like a catch-22. It's very difficult to defeat terrorist movements like this, or pro-terrorist movements like this. And this is why it's been so hard to get rid of terrorists in the Middle East, is because they have developed a martyr complex for themselves. So if you go and kill a bunch of them, then others look at them and say, oh wow, they were right? You know, it's like the banks closing Kanye West's account. It's like, you know, he's over here like, oh, the Jews are out to get me, and then he loses access to his bank account. It's like he feels vindicated in that way. He feels somewhat vindicated in his belief, even though he's wrong. When you create a martyr complex inside your ideology, then you know, that sort of like almost makes your movement invincible, unless you could kill all the members and then prevent other people from like starting the movement back up, of course. But anyways, let's go through the article. It says here, after the shooting, the suspect went inside the museum and stated that he, quote, did it. He was no longer armed by the time he was taken into custody, according to the affidavit. I did it for Palestine. I did it for Gaza. I am unarmed, he spontaneously said. He also told detectives that he admired an active duty Air Force member who set himself on fire outside of the Israeli embassy in February 2024, describing the man as courageous and a martyr, court documents said. Oh my. I did not know that. Investigators said they were still working to corroborate the authenticity of writings purported to be authored by Rodriguez, an apparent reference to a document circulated online that expressed outrage over Israel's conduct in the war. The FBI is also contacting associates, family members, and co-workers. Rodriguez appeared in federal court in Washington in a white jail suit and listened impassively as the charges and possible punishments, which include the death penalty, were read. At a home listed in public records for Rodriguez's mother in suburban Chicago, a sign taped on the door Thursday afternoon asked for privacy. Oh yeah, and that's gonna be rough too. If you're the parent of someone like this, and you've got no relation to the ideology, maybe you completely disagree with it. You know, a lot of times when people have radical ideologies, they are diametrically opposed to those of their parents. It's very common. So I would not be shocked if, you know, this terrorist mother is absolutely horrified and is like doomed for the rest of her life to being linked to this specific action that she strongly disagrees with. That has to be rough. What else is here? It says the shooting followed the Jewish advocacy group's annual Young Diplomats reception at the museum, which the couple had attended. Yoni Kalin and Katie Kalisher were inside the museum when they heard gunshots, and a man came inside looking distressed. Kalin said people came to his aid and brought him water, thinking he needed help, without realizing he was the suspect. When police arrived, he pulled out a red keffiyeh, the Palestinian headscarf, and repeatedly yelled, "Free Palestine." The event, Callan said, this event was about humanitarian aid, Callan said. How can we actually help both the people in Gaza and the people in Israel? How can we bring together Muslims and Jews and Christians to work together to actually help innocent people? And then here he is just murdering 2 people in cold blood. Now, of course, when you've got a situation like this, the most obvious question is, well, how do you keep these things from happening again in the future? And honestly, I would say it's very, very difficult. Now, I think that there is a general rule in the United States of America, I think it's even legal, that says you're not allowed to support, foreign terror organizations, right? So this would include Hamas. Like, you can't run around saying, I support Hamas, or you should join Hamas, or Hamas should be supported, Hamas is a good group, yada, yada. I could be wrong, right? I actually should probably look up the law, but maybe a little bit soft here. I believe that is the law in the United States of America. There also already are anti-BDS laws, which I disagree with, because I think that violates the First Amendment. But those laws kind of limit the ways in which people can pressure others to join the BDS movement, which I think is called the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, which is another radical movement, which says don't buy any products that have anything to do with Israel, whether that be sourcing materials from there, or companies that operate there, or companies that get money over there and resources to Israel. If you're associated with Israel at all, basically don't buy anything from them. I think that the BDS movement, that is not the type of thing that leads to assassinations. But you know what does lead to assassinations? People justifying killing people over political differences. Now, we've seen this a lot in the United States of America. And the big excuse that you will see in far left discourse is, it's not politics, it's ethics. Well, I've got news for you. The two are intertwined. You can't talk about politics without talking about ethics, right? This could go from anything to, acts of terrorism, violating the Geneva Conventions, to which taxes are just. That's all ethics. So the excuse that's often given that, this is about ethics, this is not about politics, is an argument that is very, very thin, and it's used to excuse extremist language towards certain groups. And it's also easy it's easy for the left, because they have for years been saying, punch Nazis, attack them, assault them, and if you don't have the heart to murder a Nazi, then you must not be a compassionate, empathetic human being, right? Like, that's literally the rhetoric that you will hear from the far left. And that rhetoric has just been breeding and growing underneath, sort of as a political undercurrent, not in the mainstream, but it has been there for years now. And so they've been saying that to anyone that they have analogized to Nazi Germany. So, if MAGA people, they'll be like, yeah, no, go attack them because they are all Nazis, right? And now with how Israel has been accused of committing a genocide in Gaza, which I think actually might be true. I'll need to look into the facts of that, because it's been several months since I've sort of like brushed up on everything that's been happening in the Israel-Hamas war. But this is very possible that Israel is actually doing a genocide in Gaza. But they're saying because of that, then Israel is just like Nazi Germany, which is actually kind of funny. It's like, because the one thing that Nazi Germany was known for is like, having a lot of Jews in the military and having a lot of Jews in the government. That's one of the things they were known for the most. But yeah, so they've analogized Israel with Nazi Germany. And so now that sort of like opens up the floodgates in their Overton window where it's like, okay, these people are punchable now. These people are attackable now. These people are murderable now. And they deserve it because they are working for Israel. Like, this is just awful. This is just terrible. And we really need to turn down the temperature of rhetoric in the United States of America. It's very funny. It's very funny because there are some people who were saying stuff like this, right? Oh, we need to turn down the temperature of rhetoric when Donald Trump got shot. But then what happened? They did not turn down the temperature at all. The temperature has been the same. The thermostat has remained unmoved, unfortunately. And so now here we are. We've got radicals online spewing anti-Israel hate and in some cases anti-Semitic hate. We've actually got this one person who is loudly out here supporting terrorist organizations. I'll be reacting to him in a moment. And it's all going mostly unopposed. Now, of course, there's a loud reaction from people saying, oh, this is bad. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about systemically, like the platforms who claim to care about hate speech, not getting rid of these people. We've got no one pressing charges against these folks when they are claiming to support terrorist organizations or just, proclaiming that these terrorist organizations are good. And we've got the radicals who, when they are breaking the law in other ways, such as by obstructing the roads, destroying property, breaking and entering, they are not getting charged. Now, to Donald Trump's credit, for those who are participating in insurrection-style riots at universities, those people did actually those folks who were not citizens did end up getting deported, I think, which is a good step in the right direction. But that alone is not going to be enough to stem this this wave of hateful rhetoric, especially because the majority of citizens, the majority of students in American colleges are not non-citizens. So there's that as well. But I don't entirely know how you stop this, because we have free speech, and free speech should not be infringed. I'm not saying that, we need a ton of censorship. I do think that the people who say they claim about hate speech should actually act like it and get rid of some of these people. But if you're a free speech zone, or you say that you care about all opinions, then don't ban these people. Don't ban these people. But it certainly helps to have more voices out there loudly opposing the folks who are the leaders of these movements, the leaders of these organizations. It's very, very unfortunate and very, very sad. But hopefully this is not something that spreads. Maybe if they put this guy under the jail, other people are going to be like, you know what, I don't really want to do this. I don't want to be a copycat. But I'm a little bit worried because school shootings it used to not be that common. But then one or two people did it, and now we've got copycats. And now it's just like an idea that people have when they're feeling bad enough. Like, I don't know what is going to happen here, but we'll see. We'll see. One can hope for sure that there are no copycats, and also if they're upping security, then maybe it'll be a lot more impossible or implausible or practical for someone to pull off something like this in the future. But at the end of the day, 2 people were assassinated and murdered for something that they had minimal involvement with. These are just government employees. They're not setting the foreign policy of the state of Israel. So, thoughts and prayers are definitely directed towards the families. And I hope that they're able to heal from this heinous act, especially the friends of family, probably didn't choose to be parts of the Israel government, and they might even oppose the Israeli government. So extremely unfair to them and unfortunate that, this crazed lunatic has sort of disrupted and disturbed these folks' lives in this way. All right, hold on. Actually, I should check this real quick. Let me see. Okay. All right. Good. I just want to check something real quick. We have some breaking news. We've got some breaking news here. This is from live now from Fox. I literally just saw this while doing show prep. Let's see what this is all about.
We want to head over to some breaking news on this Sunday. Take a look at this, a post here on X from the U.S. Department of Justice saying this: United States citizen arrested for attempted firebombing of U.S. Embassy branch office in Tel Aviv, Israel.
This is terrible. And you know what? Hold on. This is just awful. Because I was literally just saying, because there was a situation where the two people who work at the Israeli embassy were getting, they got assassinated. And I was like, I hope that this does not inspire copycats and more people to attack members of the Israeli government. And now we have this happening where we have U.S. states citizen, a citizen too. This is not an illegal. This is a citizen of the United States of America attempting to commit an act of terror against the state of Israel. Now, let's pull up this article, because I think there was a link here to an actual article with more information about the situation. Okay, it says here, United States citizen arrested for attempted firebombing of U.S. Embassy branch office in Tel Aviv, Israel. Earlier today, Joseph Neumeier, a dual U.S. and German citizen. Oh my goodness. Is there anything more cliche than a German trying to do a terrorist attack in Israel? Like, a little on the nose, my friend. But, a dual U.S. and German citizen was arrested at John F. Kennedy International Airport by FBI special agents, and a complaint was unsealed in the Eastern District of New York, charging Neumeier with attempting to destroy by means of fire explosive the branch office of the United States Embassy located in Tel Aviv, Israel. Neumeier was deported by Israeli authorities to the United States. Neumeier made his initial court appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Penny Kuo of the Eastern District of New York and was ordered detained. As alleged in the complaint, Neumeier arrived in Israel in April 2025. On May 19, Neumeier, 28, arrived outside the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv carrying a dark-colored backpack. Without provocation, Neumeier spit on an embassy guard as he walked past. But that's also not very smart. It's an easy way to get noticed and caught for sure. Neumeier managed to break free as the guard attempted to detain him, leaving behind his backpack. A search of Neumeier's backpack revealed 3 rudimentary improvised incendiary devices, commonly known as Molotov cocktails. So this guy was probably inches and moments from actually committing the act of terror he was attempting. And the only reason he wasn't successful is because he spit on a guard. And then the guard tried to grab him, and he ended up losing his backpack. That's actually kind of scary, because how close this guy got to being successful with this terrorist attack. It says here, law enforcement tracked Neumeier to his hotel where he was arrested. Neumeier's social media revealed that earlier in the day, on May 19, he posted, "Join me as I burn down the embassy in Tel Aviv, death to America, death to Americans, and screw the West." Law enforcement authorities confirmed the presence of flammable fluid in the devices. Other social media posts from an account believed to be used by Neumeier revealed his threats to assassinate President Trump. What? This is not great. Hey, here's the thing. This guy's posting on social media that he's going to attack or try to kill President Trump. Why wasn't this investigated? These things need to be investigated. Like, there are enough whack jobs now that whenever someone makes a threat to do something like this, I think they need to be investigated now. A lot of times, people online say, "Oh, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill that person, I'm going to kill these people." There are so many people saying that don't do it. That people be like, "Oh, it's a false flag. It's not going to actually happen. It's fine. Don't worry about it." But now we have so many acts of terror now. The government needs to be taking action. whenever things like this are being said. It was posted on X. It needs to be flagged and sent to the federal authorities and be like, hey, this person is making a violent threat. Maybe this is something that you need to investigate or look into. Because this guy could have been caught or arrested, right? Like maybe this guy had written plans in his basement or whatever that they could have arrested him for and prosecuted him over. For all we know. All the way back, in those years ago, whenever it was that he had threatened to assassinate President Trump, and then this never would have happened. But instead, no, we are dealing with a situation where this guy almost burned down an entire embassy. Unbelievable. It says here on May 25th, Israeli authorities returned Neumeyer to the United States. The defendant is charged with planning a devastating attack targeting our embassy in Israel, threatening death to Americans in President Trump's life, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. The department will not tolerate such violence and will prosecute this defendant to the fullest extent of the law. As alleged, Neumeyer, armed with potential lethal devices, sought to cause chaos and destruction at the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv, said U.S. Attorney Joseph Nasella for the Eastern District of New York. His arrest and prosecution clearly show that my office and the Department of Justice will not tolerate violence in our homeland or violence targeting U.S. interests abroad. The defendant is charged with attempting to firebomb the U.S. Embassy and making threats to President Trump, said FBI Director Kash Patel. This despicable and violent behavior will not be tolerated at home or abroad, and the FBI, working with our partners, will bring him to face justice for his dangerous actions. If convicted, Neumeyer faces a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years in prison and maximum fine in the amount of $2,500. No, not $2,500. $250,000. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. The FBI Washington field office is investigating this case with assistance from the FBI New York field office. The Justice Department's Office of International Affairs and FBI legal attaché's office in Israel provided substantial assistance. The Justice Department thanks our Israeli law enforcement partners whose actions ensured that no lives were lost. Acting Deputy Chief Frank Ragosis of the Criminal Division's Human Rights and Special Prosecution Section, and Assistant U.S. Attorney Lindsay Oken for the Eastern District of New York are prosecuting the case with assistance from Trial Attorney Ryan White of the National Security Division's Counterterrorism Section. This is not great. And if I honestly, things like this would actually make me be afraid to be Jewish in the United States of America. Not gonna lie. Let's resume the video here. We've got this from live now from Fox. I'll press play on this, see if they have more information to share.
Do have the entire State Department press release here in my hand. I want to read some of it for you next. Earlier today, Joseph Neumeyer, a dual U.S. and German citizen, was arrested at John F. Kennedy International Airport by FBI special agents, and a complaint was unsealed in the Eastern District of New York charging Neumeyer with attempting to destroy, by means of fire or explosion, the branch office of the United States Embassy located in Tel Aviv, Israel. Neumeyer was deported by Israeli authorities to the United States. He made his initial court appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Peggy Kuo of the Eastern District of New York and was ordered detained. I want to bring here a live look over in Jerusalem as I continue to read the latest from this press release. It goes on to say, as alleged in the complaint, Neumeyer arrived in Israel on April 2025. On May 19th, Neumeyer, 28 years old, arrived outside of the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv carrying a dark-colored backpack. Without provocation, Neumeyer spit on an embassy guard.
So one thing that's interesting is if he went there in April and then he tried to do this terror attack in May, I wonder if he literally went there just to do this terrorist attack, which is even worse, honestly, than just like waking up next to the embassy and being like, I think it'll burn down. Like, no, this seems like it was extremely deliberate.
As he walked past. Neumeyer managed to break free as the guard attempted to detain him, leaving behind his backpack. A search of Neumeyer's backpack revealed 3 rudimentary impressions improvised incendiary devices commonly known as Molotov cocktails. Law enforcement tracked Neumeyer to his hotel where he was arrested. Neumeyer's social media revealed that earlier in the day on May 19th, he posted some comments there which raised alarm with authorities. I'm not going to read them because there's some expletives in it. Law enforcement authorities confirmed the presence of a flammable fluid in the devices. Other social media posts from an account believed to be used by Neumeyer revealed his threats to assassinate President Trump. On May 25th, Israeli authorities returned Neumeyer to the United States. Attorney General Pam Bondi also quoted in the statement saying that the defendant is charged with planning a devastating attack targeting our embassy in Israel, threatening death to Americans and President Trump's life. AG Bondi goes on to say the department will not tolerate such violence and will prosecute this defendant to the fullest extent of the law. I also have a statement here from FBI Director Kash Patel taking a look here as we are following the latest. He says this, quote, the defendant is charged with attempting to firebomb the U.S. Embassy and making threats.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. No, I had glanced away for a second and I went back to the monitor. I am. Can we talk for a moment? Like, I almost feel bad bringing this up, but like, how unfortunate do you have to be? You sort of like, you've spent all of these years in various sectors of the government and, you know, as an influencer and political pundit, and then you get elected to your biggest, most lucrative and most visible position in your entire career, being the literal director of the FBI. People are talking about you all the time. He has an opportunity to make a change. People are discussing him on the news, on the daily. But how unfortunate that every time your name is being brought up, this is your picture. This is your picture. Like, was he okay? Did he eat some bad food? Like, hey, this is me. You know, I'm gonna be honest. You know, I know this full well. I have a full bag of hot Cheetos over there. This is me 2 days after eating hot Cheetos. But like, I just find it so hilarious every time I see his picture, because it's supposed to be a professional headshot, but he's like, like that's what he looks like. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't think you can. Hold on, wait, let me see. We can pull it up like this. Oh, I guess it's not cutting down to the middle. It's not cutting down to the middle, unfortunately. But no, like, I just think it's humorous. I think this is one of the funniest mugshots I've ever seen. It's not even a mugshot. This is one of the funniest professional headshots I've ever seen. He looks scared. He looks like there's like someone with a gun on the other side of the camera. It's always a shock whenever I see it. I'm like, whoa. You okay, good buddy? But yeah, no, I know this is a serious situation, but I just got a little jump scared there.
As we are following the latest, he says this, quote, the defendant is charged with attempting to firebomb the U.S. Embassy and making threats to President Trump. This despicable and violent behavior will not be tolerated at home or abroad, and the FBI, working with our partners, will bring him to face justice for his dangerous actions. The defendant, they're charged, if convicted, Neumeyer faces a minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 20 years in prison. We're going to continue to follow this developing story for you at Live Now from Fox. One more time, a look here at the post from...
So this sort of rehashes the social media post there. And yeah, I had sort of asked this question before, right? And I was like, I don't know how you stop this before, because the ideology, I don't know how you stop this from happening again, because the ideology is always going to be there. Right? There are always going to be people who, you know, hate Israel so much to the point where, you know, they think that it's justified to go out and attack people just for associating themselves with the state of Israel. Of course, you could beef up the security of these embassies, but this is not going to stop the embassies. After a while, people are going to start attacking the Jewish civilians, or people who are outspoken and being supportive of Israel. Now, maybe if these are these actions are being spawned from organizations, you can find those organizations and you can hunt them down and take them out. But still, if it's ideological, nothing's stopping any lone wolf from going out and doing a similar heinous, or attempting a similar heinous act of terrorism. This is awful, and you do hate to see it. It sort of does expose how prevalent the the scourge of radical anti-Israel hatred has become amongst Americans. Because let's be honest, one person doing a terrorist attack does not a trend make, but now we have two. Excuse me. And here's the thing: the majority of people who have radical ideas will not act on them. You have to have a lot of people with the same radical idea for one of them to finally actually do something. And so I think this says something about what we might expect in the future. We need more pro-Palestinians to go out and say, no, don't do these terrorist attacks against Jews and members of the Israeli government. There are better ways to call for the change that we want to see in the world. But we've also got people out here who are sort of like justifying this. Like I want to say Hassan Piker actually boosted on X a post that basically excused what was done here. Because I actually checked to see, hey, has Hassan Piker spoken about this? He did. Well, he didn't say anything about it, but he boosted somebody else's post. And this is the post. It says, and this is a screenshot here. Well, hold on. Well, this is not a screenshot, but this is a quote from a post by Tim Barker. It says, this is a completely reasonable comparison, and quoting this. Palestinian activist Mohammed El-Kurd, who writes for The Nation, and Mondoweiss shared a post that compared the murders of the two Israeli embassy staffers to the 1938 killing of a Nazi diplomat at the hands of a Jewish refugee in Paris. They're not comparable at all. Well, I mean, no, actually, no, I'm wrong. They are comparable, but they're both bad. Don't do this. These are acts of terror. If you want to fight, like join the fight, go join a military force or something. Like join a government who wants to abide by the rules of engagement and participate in warfare, right? You could go to a country that you support, join the military. I think Iran is doing stuff against Israel. Go to Iran, join their military. Don't do acts of terror. They're not going to be effective. But yeah, he's boosting a post that is justifying a terrorist attack. So stuff like this is what's going to lead, especially when you see how prominent Hassan Piker is. Stuff like this is going to lead to more attacks like this happening in the future. I hope that Jews in the United States don't get attacked more, but I'm just worried that this is just the first in a worrying trend of anti-Israel and anti-Semitic violence that we're just going to start seeing this summer in 2025. Let's see here. We've got this article here from Fox News, and this is actually kind of interesting. This says, Joe Rogan starts going to church as faith resurgence gains momentum, Christian apologist claims. Which is interesting because I don't think that Joe Rogan has had a storied history of supporting Christianity or God or Jesus at all. I think that he's been one of the figures who actually has sort of mocked Christianity and religion in the past. But he has had some religious folks on his podcast as of late over the past several months, I think. Maybe the past few years. And that's been very cool to witness. But yeah, let's keep reading. It says here, I can tell you for a fact that Rogan is attending a church, and that has been a consistent thing, Christian apologist Wesley Huff claimed. Podcast host Joe Rogan is apparently making a faith-driven change to his Sundays he's going to church. According to Christian apologist Wesley Huff, who appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience in January, the world-famous podcast host has been attending church consistently since their on-air deep dive into Christianity and the Bible. This is really cool, because I remember when this happened, I didn't listen to the episode, but I remember a lot of Christians being like, oh, I wonder if he's going to come to faith here. It's really cool to see Wesley Huff giving Joe Rogan the gospel. And now, with Joe Rogan actually going to church, it actually seems like this conversation has been bearing some real fruit, which is really cool. But the other cool thing, of course, about stuff like this is even if you go up on a platform like this and you share the gospel and the person you're talking to doesn't come to Christ, when you're on a platform this big, you might end up converting some folks who are just viewers of the podcast. So because of that, of course, that had some impact as well. It's really cool, I think, to see the movement of people treating Christianity with more of a positive attitude and being less antagonistic towards God. I think is the best way to put it, because it doesn't seem like society as a whole is embracing Christianity, all of its tenets, all of its ethics, which of course it's the world. We're not going to expect that. We shouldn't expect that. We should never expect that. If the world says we support Christianity now, everyone should be wary of the type of Christianity that it is supporting. But at the same time, it is encouraging that the climate now is being a lot more positive towards Christianity. And I think that it's sort of like softening a lot of people's hearts towards God in a way that I think is very helpful, especially for people who are trying to spread the gospel. Kurt here in the chat says, has he ever read the Bible? Well, I don't know if he's ever read the Bible properly. And I guess I would know if I had listened to the episodes where he talked about God more on his podcast. But he is going to church, so he is getting the word in at least once a week, it says. But there's more here in the article. Huff said, Joe Rogan and I have had on and off communication since then. I can tell you for a fact that he's attending church, and that has been a consistent thing, and so things are happening. The public speaker serves as the Central Canada Director for Apologetics Canada and made the claim during a recent appearance on the Living Waters podcast. Huff added that he is very encouraged by his ongoing conversations with Rogan. He's a very inquisitive individual, he said. I think for the better in that he's communicating with me and other people in his life who are influencers that can speak into, these issues of reliability and trustworthiness and a verisimilitude of something like the pages of scripture, and where he should and shouldn't be looking for the information in regards to that. So it sounds like he has some discernment. That's actually pretty good, because we've seen stuff like this go very sideways with folks like Kanye West, who they get bad leadership, right? And then they just go off the deep end and they end up leaving the faith altogether. Very, very common to happen. So it's like, oh, isn't it nice that Hillsong is appealing to so many people? Like, no, it's not, because half those people leave the faith. And a lot of the other people who are still in the faith are holding to heretical worldviews and theological positions. So it's not helpful or good at all. But I digress. We can talk about Hillsong another day, I think. Says, Huff also pointed to a broader resurgence in interest in Christianity, highlighting how Ascension's Rosary in a Year podcast briefly overtook Rogan's own show in the Apple podcast charts in early 2025. Shortly after that dip in the rankings, Rogan invited Huff to the podcast, one of the most popular people in the world. Huff went on to say that he has observed a growing number of young people seeking Christian faith. He referenced a recent message from a bookstore where teens have been coming in asking for the Bible, reportedly saying, all my friends are reading this thing. This is great. This is really cool. And part of me is like, oh, the Bible. Part of me would be like, oh, the Bible's becoming a bestseller, but the Bible has always been a bestseller, which also is like such a cool fact, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. We had someone reach out to us recently at Apologetics Canada, who's probably the last bricks and mortars Christian bookstore that I've ever heard of. But they said, we have people walking through our doors, asking young people, teenagers, saying, I want a Bible. All of my friends are reading this thing. Huff continued. Data backs the trend. According to a new study by the American Bible Society, there's been a rise in Bible users from 38% to 41%, with notable gains among young people and men. Millennials saw a 29% rise in Bible use from 2024 to 2025, and men saw a 19% increase, closing the long-time gender gap in Bible use, a press release by the American Bible Society revealed. In recent years, millennials and men who were among the least likely to use the Bible. Among Gen Z, scripture engagement rose 11% from 2025 to 15% rose from 11% in 2024 to 15% in 2025. If the Bible is, becoming popular with teenagers, then something is happening and the Lord is moving, the Christian apologist concluded. Now, you know what's interesting? As I was reading this article, I was like, you know what? I wonder if some of this is due to people pushing back against progressive values, because anyone who, I'll put it like this. The majority, I think, of people who are following Orthodox Christianity, right, standard Christian practices and theology, they will easily and very quickly tell you that many progressive values do go against what is in the scripture. And so I think some of this may be helped with the public pushback against progressive values, because for many things, society, when it comes to social values, progressivism and the Bible are sort of diametrically opposed. And so when you've got this one worldview that's sort of becoming out of style, people are going to start running to what's in the other end. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be put off by the Bible's admonishments to give up certain sins. People might enjoy them or whatever. But in general, it makes a lot of sense that people would start running towards the gospel. This is really good. This is really great. Of course, I don't think Christianity will ever be mainstream in America, at least true Christianity. But it's really nice to see how popular the Bible is becoming, Christianity is becoming, and church is becoming in the United States. This is great. This is great. This is actually like the best news that I've seen in like the past 2 months. Like, I'm genuinely pumped about this. This is great. This is great. Kurt says Jimmy Swaggart, Ernest Langley, and Tammy Faye's ex-husband. I don't know who those people are. The names sound vaguely familiar, but I don't know who Jimmy Swaggart, Ernest Langley, and Tammy Faye are. You'll have to educate me. Join my Discord server and tell me who they are. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see here. A few weeks ago, I talked about how ESPN and Fox are about to change cable TV forever. And not enough people are talking about that. I think that was the title of the video. I still think not enough people are talking about that. But there's even more drama in that situation, because ESPN announced their ESPN Unlimited streaming service, where you'll be able to subscribe to stream ESPN and all the ESPN channels a la carte for like $30 or $40 a month. Very cool. But not long after that, ESPN also announced that they will be bringing Rich Eisen's show. I think it's a radio show or a podcast. I think it's a radio show. They'll be bringing the Rich Eisen show to ESPN Plus, broadcasting and streaming live. Now, what's interesting about this is that ESPN actually already has a very large podcast. What? Airing on ESPN. What? Censored on ESPN, but streaming and broadcasting uncensored on ESPN Plus. What? This is the Pat McAfee show. And and you can tell, with all the what's and stuff, I've sort of gotten into Pat McAfee since he joined ESPN. If he ever leaves ESPN, I think I will continue to watch his show. But, I actually never heard of him until he joined ESPN. Then as soon as he joined, I started listening to him, and I'm like, this guy's magnetic. This is great. But it seems like people are speculating that he might get booted from ESPN and replaced or preempted by Rich Eisen's broadcast. The first big personality I saw speak about that was actually Jason Whitlock. Very few situations in which I would actually watch Jason Whitlock at this point, because he's just a professional hater. That's his job. But I watched the video, and it seemed like he was making some legitimate points. And some of the points that he brought up were actually brought up here in this article from Awful Announcing, where I read more details about this. Apparently, Pat McAfee has responded to this. Now, I haven't seen the segment yet. I will be reacting to the segment here because it's embedded here in this article. But this is what the article is called. It says, Pat McAfee questions if ESPN is sending him a message with Rich Eisen's return. We have responses as well. Pat McAfee likes Rich Eisen. He may have even played a role in helping him bring the former SportsCenter star back to ESPN. But when it came to the news that Eisen is taking his eponymous daily show to the worldwide leader's direct-to-consumer streaming service this fall, McAfee admittedly has some questions, especially considering that both of their shows air at the exact same time. Right, yep, because the McAfee show airs from noon to 2 on ESPN, and then noon to a little bit longer than 2 on ESPN Plus and YouTube. Could be 2:30, could be 3 p.m. Depends on what's going on. Yeah, basically the schedule is the same. Learned Rich Eisen's coming back to ESPN. McAfee said on Tuesday's episode of the Pat McAfee Show, I'm a big fan of Rich. Rich has been very nice to me, very cool to me. He's going live noon to 3 Eastern. It's a good time slot. One of McAfee's producers, co-hosts, could be heard saying off camera, obviously alluding to PMS airing at the exact same time. That feels very interesting, McAfee admitted. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to play the clip because, I was planning on playing the clip anyways, but here is the clip.
Learned Rich Eisen's coming back to ESPN.
Yeah.
Shout out Rich.
Hell yeah, Rich. It's been a
We
while.
love Rich. 20-some years.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of
Welcome
Rich
back,
Eisen.
Rich.
Rich has been very nice to me, very cool to me.
Thanks.
He's going live noon to 3, I believe, Eastern on ESPN Plus.
Good time slot.
Disney Plus. Respect. I
Can't
guess.
watch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Son of a bitch.
That feels very interesting, but also love Rich Eisen. So I am cool with whatever. That's a fascinating thing. Nonetheless, the ESPN flagship.
Now, I wonder, because some people are speculating that Pat McAfee is worried that he might get replaced on ESPN. Now, I did some digging. It seems like Pat McAfee's show is safe on ESPN for at least the next few years because he's got a multi-year deal for the Pat McAfee show on ESPN. I wouldn't be shocked, though, to see, because right now the schedule is, I think, Pat McAfee show from noon to 2 on ESPN, and then from 2 to 3, it's like ESPN Sports Center or like NFL Live or something. Wouldn't be shocked to see them put the third hour of the Rich Eisen show from 2 to 3. That could certainly work. But I think actually seeing his body language and how he's speaking, I actually wonder if this is mostly Pat McAfee being friends with Rich Eisen, not wanting to be in the position of competing with someone who is his friend and someone who he looks up to. Because that can make things get very salty, very testy, and very adversarial very quickly. It can be, you can have a friendly rivalry, but it's not as easy to do if you're not having direct competition like this, especially at your own, at the same company, right? Because even if ESPN doesn't boot Pat McAfee from ESPN right now, which I don't think they can, who knows? Maybe in the few years when it's time for renegotiations, the Pat McAfee show gets removed from ESPN and is moved just to ESPN Plus. That is a possibility. But let's continue to hear more of what he has to say.
That's about to be launched. I think it's going to have everything that ESPN has. $29.99 a month, all to find in one area. Good luck to everybody and all parties involved there. And shout out to Rich Eisen coming back, one of the men who built, ESPN, especially alongside of his Sports Center run back in the day. First ever hire for NFL Network, Rich Eisen.
Yep, wow.
On-air hire. Yeah, so, he's been there, done that, coming back to ESPN feels like a full circle moment. Noon 3 is fascinating for sure. Is that a message? I don't know, but yeah, cool, whatever. But nonetheless.
The 60 frames per second is sort of screwing with my computer right now.
Especially alongside of his Sports Center run back in the day. First ever hire for NFL Network, Rich Eisen.
Yep, wow.
On-air hire. Yeah, so, he's been there, done that, coming back to ESPN feels like a full circle moment. Noon 3 is fascinating for sure. Is that a message? I don't know, but yeah, cool, whatever. But nonetheless, we're happy Rich is back. We're excited that ESPN is launching this flagship thing. And $29.99, I'll be excited to see who all, because I think that's the game.
Yep.
That's the game, is trying to figure out what people value, what they don't value. I assume it'll all work out.
What are they going to call it? Sorry.
I don't know.
I believe it's just called ESPN.
The service, they're calling the service ESPN, but they got packages in there. There's going to be like, what's it called? What are they called? I'm just going to look this up. Look up the different tiers. I know one of them's called ESPN Unlimited. That's the only one that I've been thinking about because it's the one that I want to get when it's college football season. You know me, big into college football. Okay, so there are two plans. There's ESPN Unlimited, which is the main one, and then there's going to be hold on, what's it called? ESPN Select, which is basically just ESPN Plus. So ESPN Unlimited is the service that they're talking about. It's technically just called ESPN, but not really. It's kind of weird how they decided to do the branding and naming for all that.
I don't think there is like a big grandiose name or anything.
I'm happy to hear that because I think they were trying to figure out a name there for a bit, and no matter what you go with, it's not going to be more synonymous with ESPN than ESPN.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm not privy to those conversations, but I will say good luck to all the people that are involved.
Are we on it?
That's good.
I think so. They said we were. I don't know if that'll be a conversation for a different day, but
Right.
I think we're going to be on there.
Cool.
Yeah, they did say that literally everything that's on ESPN Plus and everything that's on ESPN, all of the networks, every single one is going to be on there, which is, I'm excited about that. I'm very happy about that because as a college football fan, this means I'm going to have access to the SEC network, ESPNU, and ACC network, which, like, as someone who's big into college sports, if you give me a streaming service that has ESPNU, ACC network and SEC network and doesn't have ESPN or doesn't have ESPN2, especially year round when it's outside of college football season, I'll take that. I'll take that because I don't know. I just grew up always being into college sports and not really following pro sports as much. So the fact that they're including that and not forcing folks to pay more or separating things out in different tiers like you often see with cable, like if you got like Sling TV or whatever, it's cheaper than cable, but I think you'd probably still be paying like $60, $70, $80 a month if you want to get all of those other ESPN channels versus now just paying $30 a month just for the ESPN channels. So that's very cool. But the way that they worded that made me think that, yes, the Pat McAfee show is going to be included. It'd be very strange if they made ESPN Unlimited have everything except for the Pat McAfee show and it's just blacked out. It's like, oh, you're in the Pat McAfee blackout. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I think they're going to be included.
So that's the same.
Yeah, so how does you got choices right there? This one or this one?
I respect it. Just like the NFL Live crew, you know.
Oh yeah, the NFL Live crew, right? From 2 to 3. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah, right. Competing with them for the third hour of the show.
Free agency frenzy day.
That's right.
You know, hey, counter program us. It's all good.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, we like it. That's how we like it, actually.
Yeah.
You know, motherfuckers might learn, but we do like it, and we have responses as well.
I just wish we could watch Rich's show.
Bingo.
So I
We
was
haven't been
hoping
able to
it
watch
was
it for years. We haven't been able to watch it for years. So whenever I heard, and I might have been a part of even, you know, that entire thing potentially coming back. I don't know who wants to tell stories and what stories will be told of it all. But it's like, yeah, as soon as I read on Schefter's Suite that it's noon to 3, I'm like, so we can't have him on the show.
We could do another collab
Can't have
hour.
him on the show and also can't do it.
Collab would be cool.
All right. Joining us now.
Having the first 30 minutes of like Rich Eisen being with ESPN, like having them both collabing would be awesome. That'd be so cool. But yeah, this whole situation is very interesting, and I'm gonna give a hot take here. I'm gonna give a hot take, especially, and this is gonna be a hot take as someone who likes the Pat McAfee show. I'm relatively new, right, to watching Pat McAfee show, but I have been watching here and there, especially during college football season. Since he's joined ESPN. And I gotta say, I think that Pat McAfee is not a great fit for the ESPN channel. His show is a better fit for either ESPN Plus. I think he's perfect for ESPN Plus, or ESPN News, right? Which is kind of like a buried channel because Pat McAfee curses so much on his show. Like he's toned it down since he's joined, but he still curses like a lot. And that alone would be like fine because, you know, you've got editors, you could go in and bleep and stuff and put in delays. And Pat McAfee said they were going to do that. But I was listening to him doing like a WWE event with like Hulk Hogan and some other folks. And there were a lot of curse words that did not get cut. They came through. And I'm like, man, he's got to be in trouble with the FCC for this. Like ESPN must be upset that they let that slip and they let that slide. Because, you know, I think in general, folks are starting to get more comfortable with explicit language on like talk television, especially with the advent of Donald Trump becoming president. But still, it's kind of a lot. I think that a more polished show that came straight from radio, like the Rich Eisen show, is a better fit for ESPN proper. So I even wouldn't be mad if the show got kicked off of ESPN, they hot swapped it for Rich Eisen, and Rich Eisen, his show got put on ESPN. Now, I've had my own thoughts about how ESPN schedules and prioritizes the talk television shows, and there's probably enough material there for me to do a completely separate video about that, so I'm not going to talk about that here. But just a hot take. If Pat McAfee's show gets booted from ESPN, I would not be upset. I would not be crying. I would miss it for sure, but I'm just gonna watch it on YouTube or ESPN Plus, right? And I would respect that move because I think it just better fits with the brand to have someone who doesn't curse as much, isn't as explicit, isn't as occasionally lewd and grotesque with the analogies and the jokes that are being made. I just think it makes more sense for someone just a little bit more prim and proper be on ESPN Plus. I wish Pat McAfee all the best. I hope he continues to have success, but that's just me calling it how I see it. I like the guy. I want to root for him, but I just would not be surprised if they replace him. But not yet. Not yet. For now, I think he's safe, and I think he should be safe. Now, this guy. Now, I think that I'm gonna have to cut one of these videos. Actually, one of these topics. I wanted to react to this so badly. But just so many things have. I spent too much time talking about other things. I'm not going to be able to get to this one, but I am going to get to this. Now, there's this cat person. Now, I hope I'm saying this person's name right. Oh, hold on, wait a second. I want to read the chats before I react to this video. Got a message from Bray Leno. It says, I swear I'm in here randomly. LOL. Did you see the new Kanye tweets? Yes, I did see them. I might react to them in a different stream. I was thinking about reacting to them today, but I'm like, you know what? Kanye's still bipolar. By the time the video comes out, he might have completely changed his mind. Let me give him a week. See if he stays opposing anti-Semitism. If he does, by the next to my stream, I'll talk about it. Remind me in the Discord server, by the way. Send the link into the tweets into the Discord server, and I'll see them when I'm doing show prep for the next stream. But anyways, I want to make sure I'm saying this person's name right. Kat Abugazela. I hope that she says her name in this video, so I say it right. She has launched a political campaign, I believe, is it for the Senate or the House? For Congress. Sorry. Wait, is it for Congress? Yeah, she's running for Congress. So this person's running for Congress. I don't know if she's liberal or if she's progressive. I know that she's on the left. And every time she puts out a video, it ends up in my algorithm. But I'm like, you know what? I want to see what this person's all about. She seems to take great exception with Republicans, and I'm a Republican. She seems to take great exception with conservatives. I would say I'm conservative, maybe center right, but I lean conservative, you know. Get someone with the vote blue no matter who bumper sticker in front of me, they're gonna call me a conservative. So I take the label. I take the label. I accept it. You know, I may be more centrist than your average right winger, but I'll take the conservative label if that's what you want to brand me with. But anyways, because of how vocal she's been getting media interviews. I think most recently she was on Morning Joe. I figure it would be worth me reacting to what she's been doing. This is a campaign basically run from a basement, or it looks like a hotel room more like, but this is a social media or content creator / influencer campaign, which, by the way, I was sort of thinking, you know, with how the last presidential election went, like, it makes sense that you would run a campaign like this out of a YouTube channel. I feel like something like this could have success. So very clearly she is a forward-thinking young lady. Maybe she has what it takes to actually be successful as a politician. Be very interesting to see. But yeah, let me see what she has to say here, because her titles have been provocative in a certain direction. But of course, it's unfair to judge someone based on their clickbait titles. Maybe it's not even clickbait. I want to hear what she has to say. So this is the first video that she made sort of in this series of videos talking about getting into politics. It wasn't until the video after this where she said, hey, I'm going to join politics. But anyways, this has sort of been the setup for her campaign, if you catch my drift.
It It hasn't even been 2 months, and most Democrats are ready to cede control to Trump. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've had some great ideas. Giving up, playing dead, getting mad at their constituents. But it's not over yet, because Democrats have one last...
The Democrats have been the ones who have lost them every single election that they've lost in recent history. The whole Democratic leadership is why they have not been successful. They've even had good candidates that they have chopped off at the knees because they weren't moderate enough, or they weren't establishment enough, or it was somebody else's turn, right? She is completely right to blame the leadership here.
Last strategy, abandoning their entire base. On Sunday, Politico released this article about a Democratic retreat in Loudoun County, Virginia.
What is the Democratic base? The Democratic base is eroding. The Democratic base is eroding and people are moving to the right. So, to be fair, it does make sense for the Democratic Party to go after the rights base, because a lot of them are former Democrats, right? Trump is like a major winner when it comes to like former Obama voters. Like people voted for Obama and then they're voting for Trump. Those are the types of people that Democrats should be going after. I think that's what they're doing.
Last month. Attended by staffers, consultants, electeds, and party leadership, this group laid out 20 solutions to win back the working class. And all of them, at least the ones listed in this article, are various middle fingers. Because instead of reflecting on where they went wrong in Harris's campaign, like not differentiating her and Biden at all, or courting this mythical Liz Cheney superfan, or putting a muzzle on Tim Walz, these Democrats have decided it's just easier to become Republican light. Here are some actual quotes from this Democratic Party victory.
You know what's funny about this? I'm realizing that she's completely correct. And you know how I know this? Is that this is what the Republican Party used to do when they were losing. Right? And the shoe was on the other foot. The Democratic Party was mainstream. They were gaining ground, especially in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attack, George W. Bush, and the war on terror, and how that basically did not lead to a victory at all. But we had Democrat-light candidates. We had Mitt Romney. We had John McCain. And these are like milquetoast moderates who were picked because people thought, well, maybe they'll appeal to someone on the left. But someone who's so moderate and milquetoast, they do not appeal to a lot of folks. They're just like, you seem kind of lukewarm. I think there's actually a Bible verse about that, actually. But, you know, Kat is onto something here. I was not expecting to agree with so much of what she was saying from the jump here, especially due to how adversarial some of her language was in her video titles. Bravo. I think you're definitely onto something.
Plan. Democrats should ban far-left candidate questionnaires and refuse to participate in forums that create ideological purity tests.
I hate this. There's this new trend, and it's not just on the left, because it's on the right too, where it's just like, stop listening to your constituents. I hate this. Like, you've got town halls with local government officials that are being canceled because they don't want to answer tough questions. Well, I'm sorry. Answering tough questions is actually how you answer tough questions, I think, is how you get respect from your constituents. And also, the people with the courage to do that tend to be ones who are the most victorious. Donald Trump answered a lot of tough questions. I mean, he answered them very snarkily. Some of them he didn't answer satisfactorily, but at least he answered them. He went to the lion's den in many occasions. This trend needs to end, where state chapters of the Democratic and Republican Party are like, hey, stop listening to constituents because things are getting too rowdy and you might get asked some questions that are too difficult for you to answer.
This is a pretty obvious dig at an ACLU survey in 2019 given to Democratic primary candidates. Republicans exploited it for culture war reasons. I do think that survey was unnecessary and weirdly worded, especially for a primary. But I'm not sure it's like the main thing we should be focusing on. Also, this point raises a lot more questions than answers. What counts as far left? In this case, would it be the ACLU? Why do you need to control or...
I mean, it's very clear that would be progressivism. Right? Progressivism would be far left, but if you're a progressive, you're not going to want to take that answer, right? Like a lot of progressives are like, oh, Y'all are complaining about wokeness? What's wokeness? Wokeness isn't real. But they're only saying that because they don't want to be targeted under the banner of wokeness, because everyone hates wokeness, and so they want to trick people into thinking that they're not the woke people. It's someone else's. It's someone else, or it's a boogeyman that doesn't exist.
Ban these institutions. And like, how often is this an issue? Are you spending all of your time doing ideological purity tests? When is the last time you saw your children? Okay, this one's my favorite. Democrats should also move away from the dominance of small dollar donors whose preferences may not align with the broader electorate. Excuse me, what the fuck? Small dollar donors? You mean the average American who can only spare like $5 to $10 because they're living paycheck to paycheck?
Exactly.
Motherfucker,
Look, small dollar donors represent people who can afford to spend small dollars. You know who those people are? Average Americans. Average Americans. Big donors don't represent average Americans. They represent rich people. This whole strategy is backwards. I can see why Kat is up in arms here and trying to take matters into her own hands. I do not blame her at all. If I was a Democrat, her position, I might do the same thing.
is the broader electorate. Also, if you think corporate money and rich people are the answers to small dollar donors, guess what? You're a Republican. Democrats should push back against far-left staffers.
I don't know about that. I mean, we've seen what Democratic Party has done with like Act Blue. You know, they get a lot of big donors. Like the idea that like Republicans are the only ones who court rich fat cat money is kind of disingenuous and silly. But maybe it's just ignorant. I don't know. I wouldn't attribute that to malice if I could attribute it to ignorance.
Guess what? You're a Republican. Democrats should push back against far-left staffers and groups that exert a disproportionate influence on policy and messaging.
Well, that is true because progressives are a minority. And to be fair, I actually sympathize with the Democratic Party because for too long they have kowtowed and bent the knee to these radical progressives who represent an extreme minority of the views of Americans in general, right? So, for example, like there was the Squad, right? It was supposed to be the future of the Democratic Party, and there were these far left radicals, like 4/5 of them were like members of the anti-BDS movement and stuff. Well, like 1 or 2 of them are left, and that Squad has not grown. So it's like people are a little bit mistaken when they see, movements that sort of push a party in a certain direction and think that it represents the majority of folks there, and therefore chasing folks who support that ideology is a winning strategy. It's not.
Once again, what's the far left here? Also, what groups?
Okay. This is like hilarious and how pathetic it is. Man. And you know what? So she is ashamed. She is ashamed by the fact that, and what she doesn't want to confront is that people don't like wokeness. People don't like progressivism. People don't like the far left. So she'll do everything that she can to avoid those labels, right? The labels of far left, the labels of progressive. But you know what she won't do? She won't actually leave any of the tenets of that ideology. This is an attempt to run away from the bad branding of progressive values while still retaining the same values that got the progressive movement such a bad brand in the first place. Right? Which, it's fair enough to say that woke is a pejorative, but it's also descriptive of referring to people who have progressive social values. And so she's like, oh, who's the far left? I think it's you. Because only progressives are asking, who is the far left? This amorphous group floating in the wind, invisible to the sight of those with eyes to see. Like, no, progressivism is wokeness. Progressivism is far left.
That phrase is vague on purpose, but here's a little...
It's not vague. What are you doing? What are you doing?
secret. Behind closed doors, a lot of powerful Democrats and donors refer to the millions of diverse, complex lives that make up our country as the groups. And if that feels dehumanizing, that's because it is. Also, if you think transgender people or Muslims or disabled people had disproportionate influence over the last election,
Nope.
I'd ask how they feel about that. Candidates should get out of the
That's not true because it was all like leadership in the DNC. They are the ones who pick the nominees essentially, right? Have the super delegates and all that stuff. And I think it's all like white people mostly, like in the Democratic leadership. So the Democratic Party is just like a party of white people telling each other that they're not racist while not even considering the actual values and interests of the minorities that they're trying to champion on the behalf of.
Circles and into real communities like tailgates, gun shows, local restaurants, churches. Hypothetically, this could be good, but you have to wonder what they mean by elites, especially because we know big donors, i.e. rich people, are good. As someone who monitors political and particularly conservative media for work,
I think what it is they're gonna take the elite money and then go over to the tailgate parties and talk about how great the interest, how they should be voting in the interest of the elites. I think that's how I'm reading that statement.
I can tell you what it actually means. Academia, artistic communities, the groups. You know, the opposite of real America. Also, how fucking insulting
How many tailgates are there at Harvard, though? Like, let's be real.
is this? These Dems watched one episode of King of the Hill, didn't understand what the episode was actually about, and was like, yeah, we're going with that. If you actually want conservative voters, don't cosplay what you think they are. They'll think you're disingenuous because you're being disingenuous.
I will say that the camo Harris Waltz hats were cool, though. I gotta, you know what? I should get one of those hats to wear ironically on streams. I unironically think that those hats slapped. Hold on, let me pull this. I saw someone around here wearing one of those hats. Harris Walls hat. Like, bro, you can't tell me these hats don't slap, bro. I mean, it's a little cringy because you know it's cosplay. Like, I think the type of person that I saw wearing this hat is more likely to be sipping lattes and espressos at Starbucks than ever even set foot inside the woods. But I still think that the hat goes.
But if you actually wanted to make a difference, you could use some of those big dollar donors to provide physical aid to people who have lost their jobs because of Trump, who can't access their Medicaid. You could be the tangible lifeboat to the effects of the man they voted for.
This is a good point because generally speaking, like people who get so here's a couple of facts here. First of all, conservatives in general oppose welfare. True. I actually oppose welfare to a point. I think welfare is helpful, but I think that it's a job for the private sector. The real problem is that the private sector isn't stepping up. So you got to solve that problem. You can't just get rid of welfare if there's going to be no social net from other organizations. So you got that thing. Also, on the other hand, literally, this is actually my left hand. But on the other hand, here's the thing. I don't think that there's anyone who's received welfare who needed the welfare and was mad that they got it. So you've got conservatives probably. They're probably conservatives on welfare, right? They probably don't want to lose that welfare. I think the Democrats have gone a little extreme by lying about the Republicans wanting to take away certain forms of welfare like Medicaid. But that's an interesting strategy to say, hey, let's target right-leaning people who might benefit from like welfare, for example, and guarantee them that big government and government spending on welfare projects is still the way to go for governing the United States of America.
Would change far more minds than pretending that you know how to shoot a gun. But this leads beautifully into our last bullet. The party needs to own the failures of democratic governance in large cities and commit to improving local government. This is a right-wing dog whistle, plain and simple. Conservatives constantly complain about is a democratic. But this leads beautifully into our last bullet. The party needs to own the failures of democratic governance in large cities and commit to improving local government.
This is literally true. Like, hold on, Kat. Are you going to, like, say that there aren't major crime issues in LA? in Chicago, in New York City, in Portland, Oregon? Or are you saying that it's all a major success? Right? A major success. Things are going swimmingly there. And the complaints about crime and murders and assaults and robberies and thefts, property damage, and people strung out on drugs, laying on the streets and pooping on the sidewalk. That's all just like a right-wing dog whistle, a conspiracy theory, fake news, right? Or are you going to say that or are you going to say that like the crime rates in Missouri are the same as the crime rates in New York per capita? Like, I think if you're going to run away from the truth of how things have been going in major blue cities, you're not going to be successful long term, because one of the major reasons why people are running away from the Democratic Party is because they're seeing the effects of Democratic policies in their own cities. We're seeing people leave California. And where are they going? They're not going to Portland. They're not going to New York. They're going to Texas, a red state. And why are they going to a red state? Because things are going better there. Things are doing better there. There's an exodus I think there's an exodus from other blue states to red states, if I'm not mistaken. But it's like, I feel like the answer to this is, I think this is true. This is real. This is one of the things that they're actually right about in this article. I'm a little bit annoyed and peeved at the fact that she is missing such a crucial point, especially because she's actually going to be running for local office. She's doomed if she doesn't take this advice.
This is a right-wing dog whistle, plain and simple.
Oh yes. Nothing screams right-wing like saying, hey guys, let's improve the local government. This is so ridiculous. Progressives view as dog whistles the wildest things. I don't understand. And this is why it's almost impossible to listen to a progressive talk for too long without laughing. I mean, she's right about a lot more things than most progressives are, but still, she's hilariously off on an issue or two.
Conservatives constantly complain about Democratic-run cities, so that way they can spread racist narratives that increase police funding and surveillance. It keeps their audience paranoid, just how they want them. For Democrats to be saying that is scary. I do agree we need to support and highlight local government way more, but to do that, you need to look at large cities. 80% of America lives in urban areas. Those people matter just as much as the other 20%. This is not moderation. It's soft radicalization. We didn't lose to Trump because Kamala Harris was too woke. We lost to Trump because the Democratic Party refused to change. They refused to have an actual primary to give voters another option besides Joe Biden.
True.
And once Harris was in, they stalled her momentum, reining her in so she didn't go too far left.
True.
And it's not because they didn't want to alienate conservative voters.
Well, also, Harris was unlikable. But I do think that she would have had more success. Like Trump would have gotten how many electoral college votes did he get? Like over 300? He wouldn't have gotten over 300 electoral college votes if Harris was allowed to be more genuine in her actual political positions.
Reining her in so she didn't go too far left. And it's not because they didn't want to alienate conservative voters. It's because they didn't want those goals, those far left ideas, to happen. Most progressive policies are wildly popular if you don't market them like an idiot. For example, the vast majority of Americans would love for their tax dollars to pay for the doctor. The vast majority of Americans want more than a month off when they have a baby and to be able to afford childcare when they go back to work. They want their tax.
And this used to be the golden ticket for the Democratic Party. It's just like, promise to give away stuff to your constituents because everybody loves candy, right? Like they should just deploy the everybody loves candy strategy again. I don't know why they went away from that. They started moving towards weird social issues like, oh, let's put the boys in the girls' bathroom. Like, let's put the tampons in the girls in the men's bathroom. Like, what? This is not the type of thing that the majority of Americans actually care about and are looking for out of their politicians. No, it's like, I want it to be easier to live, you know, right? And so the right has responded to some of those things by saying like, hey guys, you know what? Let's lower taxes. Let's get rid of some regulations that give companies more leeway to operate in the way that they want, allowing them to make the products that they want in an easier way, which can help them lower their prices and all that stuff. You know, let's increase oil production and energy production so that energy is in more abundance, so that energy prices can be lowered. And then, of course, the cost of transportation is lowered, and therefore that lowers the cost of goods. Republicans have answers to quality of life issues, questions. And Democrats used to too, right? Which is welfare. Just, you know, give them free money for food and give them time off and all of these things, but they got away from that. I think part of it was that they achieved what they wanted, right? And so they were sort of spinning their wheels, and they were like, okay, well, we were pretty popular decades ago in the civil rights movement. Why don't we try to capture that magic again? But, you know, we've solved almost all of those social issues. So they're just spinning their wheels, trying to bend to the wills of these niche, extreme minority groups that's making everyone else upset, versus actually focusing on quality of life. The party that targets the quality of life will win. That's the party that will win. So Obama promised Obamacare, and he mostly delivered on that. You know, Trump promised that he would help with the economy and stuff, and he mostly delivered on that in his first term. So, you know, Kat she's off on some things, but she's very, very correct when she's talking about what the Democrats should be focusing on when it comes to the issues.
Tax dollars spent on fixing roads and funding schools and paying for their parents' social security rather than bombs and corporate tax breaks. There is no reason we can't have all of this, except for the fact that it takes a lot of work and corporations would earn a little bit less in profit. And I mean, we can't lose their lobbying dollars, can we? This is why a shit ton of people in Congress, regardless of party, don't even try to make things better. And why even more people in the media demonize those policies. If these policies weren't popular, people like Rupert Murdoch wouldn't have to spend billions of dollars to convince you that they're not. The Democratic Party is supposed to be the opposition party. Yes, we deserve more than a two-party system, but we don't have that yet. So this means right now, Democrats either need to step up or step down. We don't need an opposition party that tries to accomplish the same stuff as the other guys, but a little quieter, a little more polite. There is one way to move the needle here, and we have to do it while we still can. The answer is to primary every Democrat who is not doing their job. And guess what? You can do it. You'll either win, and then you can run in the general election and try to make your vision reality in Congress, or you lose. And that sucks. But guess what? Most incumbent Democrats aren't used to primaries. And by running against them, you have jeopardized their access
I got a comedy movie about that called The Campaign.
to power, which is the only thing the vast majority of Congress cares about. They should be using their platforms, their voices, their physical bodies to try to stop Trump's agenda, or at least slow it down wherever possible. They should talk to voters every single day, not abandon them. And they should publicly distance themselves from any colleagues that are willing to collaborate with Trump. Because if you're spending your time doing shit like this, you should probably join the other side. I heard they love opportunistic grifters.
You know what? I actually just had an idea. Let me look this up. First of all, I need to copy this person's name.
Democratic Party victory plan.
Y'all know I'm not going to remember how to say it or spell it. Okay, hold on. There we go. Let me look this up. How old do you have to be to run for president? Must be at least 35 years old. How old is Kat Abu Ghazala? Oh. She's only 26. No. Hold on. How old is what's the white dude who got booted from the Democratic Party? David Hogg. How old is David Hogg? No, he's not old enough either. dang. Because I just had like a light bulb moment where I was like, I would not want to be under their leadership or regime, but like, I politically ship them. Kat Abou-Gazella and David Hogg, like, I think they could really be a political power couple. I should not be using language like this, but I think that putting them both on a political ticket, I think that you got to put Kat on the top and David on the bottom. But I think if you put Kat on the top of a ticket, have her be the president of the United States, David Hogg as the VP, I think that sells with a lot of progressives. Now, of course, you've got the issue where a lot of people who are on the left are actually older. And when you start going younger and younger and younger in demographics, then you start skewing more and more to the right. So the views of people like Kat are going to become politically irrelevant in 10 to 15 years, which is ironically around the time when they'd be eligible to run for president. But it's like, in this time right now, the Democrats really would be given a Christmas gift if they had her running for president with David Hogg, because she has the right answers at the right time for the Democratic Party. It's kind of unfortunate that they're neither of them are old enough to be president of the United States. But you know what? This is interesting. I don't like progressivism. I'm not a leftist, but I do have to admit something, which is that what we have now, especially when it comes to how popular conservatism is right now, and right wing politics and right wing ideologies are, you know, how popular Donald Trump is, right? He did win over 300 electoral college votes after all, and I think that he almost got like 50% of the popular vote. I have to admit this: the Republican Party is getting lazy, in large part because of the cult that is MAGA, which basically is like, oh, anything that Trump says goes. And so I think that the right has sort of stopped thinking about what policies they're doing, and they're just like going along with whatever Trump is pushing and supports. And so what that's going to mean is they're going to stop listening to constituents and caring about what their voters actually are thinking about and want and care about. I think Trump already showed that he is sort of out of touch with the Republican base when it comes to stuff like, you know, pushing folks like Dr. Oz to run against David Fetterman when there was a more right-leaning candidate in that district, and then Dr. Oz ended up losing. Trying to ram in a provision for eliminating the debt ceiling altogether in a previous government spending bill. Stuff like that it shows that he's out of touch with mainstream conservatism. And so my Kat is the type of person who is like, okay, how do we get in touch with people? Let's focus on things that people like. Free candy. Let's do that as a political policy. And when you do that, of course, and the Democratic Party gets stronger, that forces Republicans to be like, oh, hold on, wait a second. We need to actually start focusing on our constituents. We need to listen to the people who are under us and what they care about. So I hope that there are people listening to Kat, because by the time that she's old enough to run for president, her viewpoints are going to be politically irrelevant. But if the Democratic Party needs to grow, and by the way, the Democratic Party doing well means the Republican Party does well because there's actual competition there, capitalism and all that stuff, then, they might be cooking with gas here. They just got to put it on the stove. All right. I'm actually gonna have to call it a night. I am way over time. I really wanted to talk about these topics. Hassan getting banned from Twitch. I really wanted to talk about that, and I really wanted to react to my appearances on PWS. But you know what, guys? Here's what I might do. I might do a very, very short stream tomorrow where I react to these videos. Maybe if you guys have things you want me to react to as well, we can react to those. But sorry, guys, I'm not going to be able to do this everything that I wanted to. I came very, very close. Very, very close. But I could not get it done. I am sorry. I do apologize to all of you guys. But I do thank you guys for tuning into the stream. Of course, as usual, we've got to do the shout outs to everyone who popped into the chat. The Angry Canadian, thanks for tuning into the stream. I do appreciate you being there. The best version of me, of course, being there in the chat. I appreciate you being there. Kurt, nice to see you in the chat. You're also a new chatter. Nice to see you here. And then last, but most certainly not least, is Bray Leno. Yes, you are in there randomly, and I love you for it. Thanks everyone for tuning into the stream. Don't forget to check out that On Doobie Highlights channel. I upload on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, segments from the stream. So if you want content more consistent than I can produce it, go check that out. Also check out the Non-Newbie Vlog channel. I'm thinking about renaming it to the Non-Newbie Reviews channel. It's exclusively about like pop culture, mostly movie and TV show reviews. We're also doing unboxings there as well. And yeah, join the Discord server. If you want to hop onto the stream, you'll need to be a member of the Discord server. You can also influence the things to talk about by sending things into my React Request channel in there. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Thanks so much to everyone who tuned into the stream. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you guys in another stream, maybe. But yeah, even if I don't, thanks for being here. Peace out, y'all.